In Quebec's last provincial election, the Parti Québécois received 600,708 votes. The Quebec Liberals, 591,077 votes. The PQ received more votes, but elected 3 members. The Liberals, 21. The Conservative Party of Quebec received more than 500,000 votes and elected no one. 3 parties, fewer than 70,000 votes separating them across the entire province. One elected 21 members, another elected 3, and the third, 0. Those aren't projections. Those are the official results. And now, 4 years later, the same voting system that punished the Parti Québécois may be preparing to reward it. The parties change, the voters change, but the distortion remains.
From the headlines to what's really going on underneath. This is The Canadianist. Real conversations about Canada. What's happening, why it matters, and where it's all heading. Here's Chris.
Hello, fellow Canadians. Welcome to Canadianism. I'm Christopher M. Michaud. So I left Quebec about 15 years ago, and for a long time, I stopped paying attention to its politics. It was simply a part of my life I'd sat down and I walked away from. Lately, however, with democratic reform becoming a larger part of my work, I found myself looking back at it. And what I see is one of the most glaring demonstrations of what's wrong with the way we elect governments in this country. Quebec's provincial election is set for October 5th this year. In a recent projection, 338 Canada put the PQ at 29.8% and the Quebec Liberal Party at 25.6%, a difference of close to 4 percentage points. But the projected seats, they're not nearly as close. The PQ is projected to win 60 seats, while the Liberals only 39. A 4-point gap in public support becomes a 21-seat gap in the National Assembly. Okay, so projections aren't results, and polls, they will move, and campaigns are going to be fought. Quebecers are going to ultimately make the final call. But even so, the numbers show what our electoral system can do. It takes a relatively small difference in support and stretches it into a much larger difference in political power. Quebecers don't have to wait until October to see how far that can go because it already happened. The last time, the distortion ran the other way, however. Let's go back to the 2022 Quebec provincial election. The PQ back then received 600,708 votes. They elected 3 members. The Liberals received 591,077 votes. That's 9,600 and change fewer than the PQ. The Liberals elected 21 members. The Conservative Party of Quebec received over 530,000 votes, and they got no one. So that means fewer than 70,000 votes separated those 3 parties across the entire province. One elected 21 members, another elected 3, and the third one, bubkiss. Now, those are the official results. They're not a model of what might happen. They're a record of what did happen. And now, 4 years later, the same machinery that punished the PQ may end up ultimately rewarding it. And no party benefits from this arrangement forever. In 2022, the Liberals came out ahead. In 2026, it may be the PQ. More than 500,000 Quebecers voted Conservative in the last election without sending anyone to represent them. The system doesn't care who you vote for. It rewards where your votes happen to sit. Under first past the post, we don't count votes across a province or across the country and then translate that into overall support. We hold a series of separate local elections. The candidate with the most votes in each riding wins. Every other vote in that riding stops affecting the makeup of the legislature. A party can receive a large number of votes and earn very little representation if those votes are spread across a riding it doesn't win. Another party with similar support can elect far more members if its voters are concentrated in the right places. And Quebec makes this especially easy to see. The Bloc Québécois federally and the Parti Québécois provincially both carry strong political sentiment concentrated inside one province. Spread that support across enough competitive ridings, and it becomes remarkably efficient. Pile up enormous majorities in a handful of safe seats, or finish second across dozens of ridings, and much of that support produces no additional representation. The votes count equally when they enter the ballot box. They don't produce equal political influence when they come out.
Proudly Canadian, without folk cliches.
The Canadianist, music, talk Canada, and more. The Canadianist.
Toronto isn't meant to be rushed. It's meant to be experienced. With BringMe.ca, you hire a professional driver by the hour. Your itinerary, your pace, your city, from neighborhood food spots to historic streets, waterfront views, or a relaxed day trip, you ride in comfort with Wi-Fi, air conditioning, and zero stress. No parking, no planning headaches. Just go. Your ride, your time. Toronto, done right. Visit bringme.ca to book your trip.
Want to connect your business with an engaged Canadian audience? The Canadianist is now welcoming sponsors. From morning radio and live talk to music, interviews, and original Canadian programming, we offer sponsorship opportunities designed to put your brand where Canadians are listening. Support independent Canadian media while reaching the customers who matter to you. To explore sponsorship packages, visit thecanadianist.news and contact us today.
Project Timer. The Canadianist, music, talk Canada, and more. The Canadianist.
Welcome back to the podcast. My name's Christopher M. Michaud. This is Canadianism. So in the last segment, we were talking about one of the most glaring demonstrations of what's wrong with the way we elect our governments in this country. And we saw the same thing in the 2025 federal election. Across Canada, the Bloc Québécois and the NDP received virtually the same number of votes. But the Bloc elected 22 MPs, while the NDP, 7. Almost identical support. More than 3 times as much representation. Some people will point out that the Bloc runs only in Quebec while the NDP runs across the country. That's true, but it's also the point. Bloc support is concentrated in places where it can win ridings, and NDP support is spread across the country, often in places where the party finishes second or third. One party's votes turn into seats. The other party's votes pile up behind the losing candidate and disappear from the makeup of Parliament. We can see the same distortion even if we look only at Quebec. Parties with fairly similar levels of support can wind up with vastly different numbers of MPs. One can win twice as many seats as another can attract hundreds of thousands of votes and barely be represented at all. That's not because their supporters voted incorrectly. It's because the electoral map rewarded where some votes were located and punished where others were located. The arithmetic follows the rules. The seat totals don't always reflect the overall vote. And we accept the outcomes because the ballots were counted honestly and everyone followed the established rules. But an honestly counted election isn't necessarily a representative one. And this is where the problem stops being about political parties and starts being about people. Millions of Canadians live in safe ridings where the results feel settled before the campaign even begins. If you support the party that usually loses there, you already know what's likely to happen to your ballot. You can follow the campaign, you can read the platforms, get off the couch, go to the polling station and cast your vote. Then the local winner is declared and your vote goes no further. It elects no one. It has no influence over the composition of Parliament. It becomes a part of the statistics showing how many people supported someone who lost. And after enough elections, people get the message. We tell them every vote counts. The system keeps showing them that some votes count far more and far more efficiently than others. Disengagement isn't always apathy. Sometimes it's a perfectly reasonable response to a system that has repeatedly taught people that participation won't change anything. That's the part of democratic reform we don't talk about enough. The real damage isn't simply that one party receives too many seats and another receives too few. The real damage is convincing Canadians that their political voice disappears at the edge of their riding.
Proudly Canadian. The Canadianist, Music Talk Canada, and more. The Canadian.
Your website might look great. It might also be quietly chasing customers away. Awkward. 20 West Media can tell you which one it is with a 100% free, no obligation audit of your digital footprint. They'll show you what's working, what's getting in the way, and where your business could grow online. No guesswork, no sales pressure ambush. Just clear, clever advice. Visit 20westmedia.com, find the pop-up, and click Analyze My Brand. 20 West Media, the clearest path to your success.
Air travel is stressful enough. Getting to the airport shouldn't be. With BringMe.ca airport transfers, your ride is scheduled, reliable, and waiting when you need it. No surge pricing, no last-minute cancellations, just a professional driver, a comfortable vehicle, and a smooth, on-time ride. Heading to Pearson, Billy Bishop, or arriving back home, we got you covered. Book your airport transfer at BringMe.ca. Arrive calm, travel smart.
Want to connect your business with an engaged Canadian audience? The Canadianist is now welcoming sponsors. From morning radio and live talk to music, interviews, and original Canadian programming, we offer sponsorship opportunities designed to put your brand where Canadians are listening. Support independent Canadian media while reaching the customers who matter to you. To explore sponsorship packages, visit thecanadianist.news and contact us today.
Proudly Canadian, without folk cliches.
The Canadianist, Music Talk Canada, and more. The Canadianist.
Welcome back to the Canadianism Podcast. I'm Christopher M. Michaud. So in the first two segments, we identified one of the most glaring problems with the way we elect governments in this country. We saw it provincially in Quebec and federally across Canada. And I'm sure that if we look closely enough, we find the same distortion in every province and territory. There is one final part of the problem we need to establish before we get to the repair. Canada is already underrepresented in the House of Commons. Historically, we've had roughly one member of parliament for every 105,000 Canadians. Today, 343 MPs represent more than 41 million people. That's approximately one MP for every 121,000 Canadians. The country has grown, but parliament hasn't kept pace. So here's the repair I've been building towards. The Michaud Method keeps every local constituency and adds 50 national seats to the House of Commons, raising the total from 343 to 393 members. That brings us back to approximately one seat for every 105,000 Canadians, much closer to our historic level of representation. Canadians would now cast 2 votes. One for their local representative. That part doesn't change. It stays exactly as we do it now. The second ballot question, however, would be, who do you want to govern the country? So your first vote sends an MP to Ottawa, or it doesn't. But your second vote makes sure Ottawa hears you, regardless of who wins your riding. That second vote would determine how the 50 national seats are distributed. Any political party receiving more than 2% of the national vote would participate in that distribution, allowing more of the political voices Canadians voted for to be represented in Parliament. For someone living in a safe riding who votes differently than most of their neighbors, that creates a reason to show up. Even if the local results feel inevitable, they still have a say in who governs the country. Each party would then establish a ranked list of 50 national candidates at the same time as all of the other candidates are declared. Those lists would become public because the people on them need to face the same scrutiny as any local candidate. Voters and journalists need to have the same opportunity to examine their backgrounds, their qualifications, and their judgment. The country needs to know who it's voting for. The vote gives those national MPs their legitimacy. Public scrutiny keeps them accountable. The ranking would also tell us something about the party itself. The leader would presumably be number one, but who would be second or third? Who would the party place closest to power? If the next person on the list is clearly being presented as a finance minister, that tells us something. If it's someone with a background in healthcare, well, that tells us something else. Parties are very good at declaring that everything is a priority. A ranked list would make them put those priorities in order. National seats would also address another problem we rarely acknowledge. When a local MP becomes prime minister, leader of the opposition, or a cabinet minister, or takes on some other major parliamentary responsibility, their ability to represent their riding suffers. That's unavoidable. The responsibility gets larger, but apparently nobody's found a way to add more hours to the week. And I'm sure Mark Carney gets back to Nepean from time to time, and I'm sure Poilievre goes back to Battle River Crowfoot. But can either of them realistically give their constituents the same attention that someone like Andrew Lawton can give to the people of Elgin, St. Thomas, and London South? Of course they can't. Their national responsibilities just won't allow it. That doesn't mean they aren't doing their jobs. It means we're asking one person to perform two jobs that increasingly compete with each other. The Michaud Method allows party leaders and other senior national figures to sit in Parliament through their national seats. They can focus on leading the government, the opposition, a department, or any other major national responsibility. Their former riding can then elect an MP whose main job is to represent that community. The national figure gets the freedom to concentrate on the national responsibility, and the riding gets a full-time local representative. No one has to be shortchanged because their MP was given a bigger job in Ottawa. The Michaud Method isn't designed to weaken the Bloc, rescue the NDP, or punish the Liberals, or reward the Conservatives. It's designed to make sure a Canadian's political influence doesn't depend almost entirely on where that Canadian happens to live. The same approach could be used provincially. Quebecers could keep their local MNAs while adding a modest number of province-wide seats to correct the worst distortions in the National Assembly. We still need local representation. We still need legislatures that can function, and governments still need the ability to govern. The purpose isn't to produce perfect electoral math, but should a 4-point difference in support automatically become a 21-seat difference? Should a party receive fewer votes than another party and still elect 7 times as many members? And when more than 500,000 people support a political party, should their collective representation be nothing? Those are questions Canadians should be asking. The Michaud Method preserves local representation, restores Parliament to our historic levels of representation, and gives every vote national reach, and makes parties show their voters who they intend to put in positions of national responsibility. Your community gets its representative, your national vote reaches Parliament, and both choices count. This episode of Canadianism came from one of my latest columns at thecanadianist.news. I lay out the complete democratic reform proposal in my book, Democracy Renewed, part of the Canada as We Are series. The books are available in print and electronic editions, as well as audiobooks on Spotify. You can find them all at christophermichaud.ca.
Proudly Canadian, without folk cliches. The Canadianist, music, talk Canada, and more. The Canadianist.
Toronto isn't meant to be rushed. It's meant to be experienced. With BringMe.ca, you hire a professional driver by the hour. Your itinerary, your pace, your city, from neighborhood food spots to historic streets, waterfront views, or a relaxed day trip, you ride in comfort with Wi-Fi, air conditioning, and zero stress. No parking, no planning headaches. Just go. Your ride, your time. Toronto, done right. Visit BringMe.ca to book your trip.
Quebec voters may choose the Parti Québécois in October. They may choose the Liberals, the CAQ, or the Conservatives, Quebec Solidaire, or maybe produce a result that no one expects. That choice belongs to them. What shouldn't belong to the electoral map is the power to turn a small difference in support into an enormous difference in representation. In 2022, Quebec's voting system gave the PQ more votes than the Liberals and gave the Liberals 7 times as many seats. 4 years later, the same machinery may distort the result in the opposite direction. Federally, nearly identical numbers of Canadians voted for the Bloc Québécois and the NDP. One elected more than 3 times as many MPs. The parties are different, the voters are different, but that distortion is the same. Quebecers should get the government they vote for, not the one manufactured by where their votes happen to be located. Every Canadian should know that their political voice doesn't disappear because they live in the wrong riding. The Michaud Method gives people their vote back. Thanks for listening. You can read the original column at thecanadianist.news. You can learn more about the Michaud Method in my book, Democracy Renewed, part of the Canada as We Are series. The books are available in print and electronic editions, as well as audiobooks on Spotify. Visit christophermichaud.ca. If you found this episode worthwhile, share it with someone who believes their vote doesn't matter because of where they live. They may have a very good reason for feeling that way. Thanks again. I'll see you next time. I'm Christopher M. Michaud, and I'm a Canadianist.
You've been listening to The Canadianist. New episodes daily. Real conversations about Canada. What's happening, why it matters, and where it's all heading. Subscribe and stay connected. The Canadianist. Proudly Canadian, without folk cliches.